If you ask the average person what the goal of Christianity is, they might say getting to heaven or being a good person. But we spent the last month discovering that the ultimate sign of spiritual maturity has nothing to do with you at all. It's about everyone else. Today we're wrapping up the Growing Up series by talking about why you will never be fulfilled until you start giving your life away. I'm Bryan Evans.
And I'm Rodney Thrift.
This is DC Table Talk. So before we get into today's episode, we mentioned two things Sunday that are very important to us: the Forge Men's Conference and the Spiritual Development Pathways. So Pastor Rodney, tell us a little more about those and what we can expect with that.
Yeah, I think Spiritual Development Pathway, I'm so grateful we've got something for people to follow. And again, we made sure then, and I'll say it again, it's not like just a checklist for you. It's kind of a thing just to check back and make sure you're doing well. And also we offered having people that could help you along the way. Mm-hmm. And we really mean that. We want people to know that we're here for them, whether they're in the place of knowing God, building community, discovering their purpose, or making a difference, that all these things have pieces to them that will help you every day or every week or by the month or whatever that looks like. So again, if you didn't fill one out and turn it in, you're going to have the opportunity, if you're here, you'll have the opportunity for the next couple of weeks to look at it and turn it in. And we just want to make sure everybody's doing, getting these things right in their lives so they can continue to mature in Christ. So we're excited about it. And I think we're going to have a digital version as well before long, so that'll be really neat too, so they can kind of follow along with that. So we'll let everybody know when we drop that. So it's awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
The other thing's the men's conference on March 13th and 14th. I love it. Proverbs 27:17 is iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Can't say enough to our guys to come out and be a part of this on that Friday evening and Saturday. It's going to be a blast, just being with other guys and learning how to be a man in 2026 this year. I think things are changing so fast. I would almost tell any guy to get to a men's conference somewhere and every year and get that thing, so you understand how to lead as a guy, and whether you're single or married. And I think it's just great to have that as a part of your life. So we would love to have you be a part of that as well. Just go to our website. It's the easiest way to get a hold of it, and go in there and sign up. We would absolutely love to have you. And again, it's just going to be a great weekend for us.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that for sure. So getting into today's topic, we finally arrived at the final pillar of growing up: make a difference. Pastor Rodney, you said something on Sunday that gives us an entirely different idea of how we view church. You said ministry isn't a position, it's a calling for every believer. And I think when people hear the word minister, they think of the guy with the microphone. They think, I'm an accountant, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm just a regular person. Why do we have this mindset that church is a spectator sport? And how do you convince the average person that God actually expects them to minister?
I just think somewhere along the way, I could be wrong, but I feel this because I've been walking with the Lord now for 37 years, and I feels like somewhere along the way, church slowly drifted from something we participate in to something we attend. And when that happens, we start seeing ministry, we'll use that word a lot today, as something a few people do on stage instead of something every believer is called to live out. And so when you go back to Scripture, the picture is completely different. The church is described as a body, not an audience, and bodies only function when every part is engaged. We use the passage from the Apostle Peter in 1 Peter 4, verse 10, basically, God has given each of you a gift from His great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well, and the key is to serve one another, I believe. And so, again, it's when the church is described, we're a body, not an audience, and we function when every piece is engaged. And that means, like, there are no extra parts. I mean, I think we can say it like that. I mean, because I know as a guy, sometimes we'll just put something together without the instructions, and then there'll be extra parts at the end, and I'm always thinking like, that's not good.
It's usually a bad day.
The crazy thing is, I've noticed now though, they put extra parts in, and
right.
But for people like me that are very OCD, it doesn't sit well with me. It makes me think that I've done something wrong. And
right.
But with the church, It means there are no extra parts. Nobody's just watching. If you're in the body, then you have a role. And I think the word minister has intimidated people, Bryan. Mm-hmm. But ministry is actually very simple. It means meeting people's needs. And so if we can just see a need and step into it, we're doing ministry.
Right.
That could be encouraging someone. It could be helping someone. It could be listening to someone. It doesn't require a microphone. And so I think that's where some of that could have happened. It's like a family, man. Both of us we're family guys, and it is like a family. In a healthy home, everybody contributes in some way. If only one person is doing everything, something's off. And so, the same is true in church. So when we see passages like Ephesians 2:10, then we realize we are God's workmanship. We're created for good works. Again, go back to this. I'm not talking about salvation here. We do not work our way into heaven. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about after we get saved, right? Mm-hmm. He says He's created us for these good works. And so we were not just saved from something. Reality is that we were saved for something.
Oh, yeah.
And so what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I like that it says that there's a great variety of gifts because, to that point, if there's only one gift of speaking from a platform, that's one thing. There's a great variety of gifts. Maybe speaking is not your thing. Maybe you like encouraging somebody, sending somebody a text. Maybe you like getting on social media and sharing your story or sharing what God's doing in you. Maybe it's just doing something nice for somebody, just one of those random acts of kindness we talked about. But there's a good variety. So if you have a gift, there's a place to use it.
That's right.
And no matter what a gift may look like, God's giving you that gift. And so I think they all come together, like you're saying, they all come together to each play their part.
Yeah, I for some reason I think that there's this thought process that we're, they're the ones that do it, are doing everything, and then, then there's everyone else. But reality is there are no extra people in the kingdom. We're all called to step into this, and we say it a lot around here. Everybody counts, but everybody does matter. Everyone has a part. Everyone has a part to play in His story. And when we don't step into that, I think something's missing. I just know watching growth, watching how everything has happened, it's amazing. And it's not just for us, but it's for people that we're called to impact. And for us here, our heart, is it's this region, these 9 counties that we've been praying for many years. And so I think that it's definitely a place where we're called to impact as we continue to move forward and everyone doing this together.
Oh, definitely. So, Sunday, of course, we had so much going on. It's pretty packed. We had Pastor Rodney there talking about the spiritual development pathways, and we're wrapping up this 4-week series. Because so much was happening, I know for a fact you had to leave something out of the message. It's just there wasn't enough room. We had to cut time to get all that stuff in. So the topic is as massive as making a difference. What's the one thing that you really wanted to press in on that you didn't have time for on Sunday?
Yeah, it was real good to have Pastor Johnny on stage. It always is. I always enjoy having someone else up there with me. And so if I had more time on Sunday, I would have slowed down on this idea. And it is that you don't really experience the fullness of your faith until it starts flowing through you to someone else.
Wow.
If I could just slow everything way down, and it would have been, because we used Pastor Chris Hodges from Church of the Highlands. We used his quote, right? Mm-hmm. The purpose of life is to discover your gift, but the meaning of life is to give it away. And so a lot of people, I think, I was talking to someone yesterday, again, a lot of people are searching for purpose by looking inward. What am I good at, or what do I want? But meaning isn't found by focusing on ourselves. Reality is it's found when your life begins to impact someone else. And so that's when we're walking through that purpose piece, that's what it looks like. And I think slowing down would definitely be a part of that. I think about a river versus a pond. in this analogy for us right here in South Georgia too. A river has life, because water's flowing through it, but a pond just collects water. It eventually becomes stagnant. Around here, we see a lot of stuff growing on top of the water. And spiritually, it's the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. When everything flows into us, but nothing flows from us, we start to feel stuck. You've talked about this a lot with your own life, mm-hmm. where, you were in that place. And so Jesus' model, Jesus himself, the apostle Peter talks about this in Acts 10:38. Like, Jesus went around doing good. In other words, if you look at that whole passage, what you'll see is that, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with power. It says he went about doing good and healing the sick and those that are oppressed by the devil, for God was with him. So he went about doing good. If he went about doing good, then it should be the same for me. As I'm filled with the things of the Lord, then I'm going to turn back around and give it away. And Jesus didn't wait for opportunities. He lived aware of people, and he also lived interruptible. Like he was on purpose. His life was on purpose. So I think if we're following Jesus, we don't just believe what he taught, we begin to live out how he lived. So thinking back on that, I would have definitely really slowed down there, I think, and talked, maybe even shifted back a little bit and talked about purpose is not found in platforms or on platforms, but it's really found in people. Mm-hmm. It's where purpose is found, and as we help them discover that peace as well. So, for me, if I could have slowed down, that was definitely one of the things that I would have done, because I think sometimes we're just, again, it is the time restraint there, but I think as we're talking about certain things, I would love to stop. I loved it last night. We had Engaged last night, and that's one of the places where we help people discover their gifts and discover how God wired them and created them. And I was able to slow down at my table, because I was actually helping lead at a table, and I had people asking me about our DC Downtown Food Ministry. So I was able to slow way down there, because several of them, that was a part of their makeup, their gift mix was working in that arena, and it really helped to slow the ship down right there. And in other words, to talk to them about just one simple act, showing up, serving, loving someone, and it changed everything. So if I could have, that's probably how I would have slowed things down on Sunday.
You mentioned my story. That's one of my things too. Is growing up, I was one of the people that thought that, okay, a minister is the person with the microphone. That was me for many years. Even as a pastor's kid, I thought that's what a minister was, what a minister did. And it wasn't until I started to discover my gifts, and actually it was through Growth Track then, which is Engaged now. I started to discover my gifts, what things I'm good at. Okay, well, I'm not good at them just for no reason. God gave me these gifts for a reason, to further his kingdom. And so that's kind of led me to, even to this podcast, is flowing out from under that, things I'm passionate about, things I enjoy doing.
That's right.
To make a difference for his kingdom. You don't find me on a platform most Sundays, if ever at all. But
I keep trying to get you up there, because I know you are a drummer.
I'm also a drummer
at heart, so yeah. I do keep aggravating about that, getting you up there and being able to drum, especially since we've been a little low on drummers lately. So you know the deal right there.
Oh yeah. But and through that, that opened my eyes to, there are other ways to be a minister, other ways to make a difference that doesn't involve a microphone, doesn't involve speaking on a stage. It just starts with what you have, what's in front of you. I keep going back to that. I actually saw a TikTok a few days ago. It's like, what's in your hand? Start with what's in your hand.
There it is.
And whatever that is in your hand, that's God's gift to get you started, and you go deeper in Him and learn new things about yourself. So yeah, I love that. And but I do want to take a second though and kind of lean into kind of the reality of people's lives.
Okay.
You said that, Sonny, that God meets needs through people who are paying attention. But somebody may be saying, well, I'm exhausted. Between work and kids and the bills, I've got tunnel vision. I'm just trying to survive my own week. So this idea of healing a broken world and looking around, it feels like way too much pressure. So how does a busy, exhausted person actually make a difference? What does ministry look like when you're just standing in the line at the grocery store? What does that look like if you're just going about your day and you're not mentally taking time to try to share the gospel?
So for me, and I think for many others, your life makes the most sense when it's not just about you anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I'm waking up every day knowing that it's not just about me anymore. I think we have to start by, for these people that are in this place that you just described, we start by removing the pressure. Mm-hmm. In other words, when people hear make a difference, I think people are thinking, really big, overwhelming, life-altering moments. And even sometimes we may present it that way. And if we do, I'm sorry about that. But we are passionate about what we do, and we're passionate about the kingdom of God, advancing here. But at the same time, most of the time, ministry happens in small, what I would call ordinary moments. And those are the most beautiful moments of all. And so making a difference doesn't start with doing more. It starts with seeing more. And that's where we were Sunday. I was trying to help people be able to, no pun intended, but see more, because it's like when you buy a certain kind of car, you start seeing that car everywhere. It's the craziest thing in the world.
That's the truth.
I've noticed that with several things, not just cars, but cars being one of them. It was always there, but now your awareness has changed.
Right.
And so there are people all around us every day who are hurting. And that's our heart, is to be able to minister to those people. There are people that are hurting. There are people that are discouraged. There are people that are overlooked. But the problem is, where what we need to, the area I think we need to mature some here or grow up in, is that we just haven't been looking for them. And so the Lord showed me that early on as a Christian was this concept of opening up and coming out of the tunnel vision and start having an awareness of the people around me. And what does it look like if I just start seeing them in these different elements of where they are? And so I could almost say, instead of the pressure being so intense, that what if we could normalize it a little bit? And let's be honest, I understand people are tired. We're with lots of people all the time. Life is full, but I think this is the key right here. God isn't asking us to add something massive to our plate. He's inviting us to be intentional with what we're already doing. The Apostle Paul told us in Galatians 6, verses 9 and 10 there, let us not become weary in doing good. He says, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have the opportunity, you see these words, I love it. Mm-hmm. As we have the opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. So Paul gives us some instruction there. And then the passage we used Sunday was that Proverbs passage, Proverbs 11:25, where we talked about the generous will prosper, those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. And so I think that's a little backwards of how we think. In other words, we think when I have more energy, I'll give. But the scripture here says, Proverbs, when you give, something comes alive in you. And I was telling the table last night at Engage, like there are times where I'll leave here from this campus and go to the food ministry downtown, and I may be just totally wiped out here mentally, and I'll get down there, man, I come alive. Every single time I come alive. And I'm just giving myself away down there in a different way, and it's very rewarding. And so sometimes the reason we feel empty is because, everything's flowing into us, but nothing is flowing through us. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to the pond river analogy again. And so there's some stagnation there. I know that there's psychology to back it up and everything about helping other people and what it does to us physically and emotionally, and we know it does spiritually as well. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's very important that we minister to others.
Well, it can be simple too. Matter of fact, Monday, I was having a little bit of a rough day. I didn't sleep very well the night before, and afternoon I was feeling tired. I went to the grocery store to get some groceries. Was just trying to get through the grocery store to get back home, and this this kid, baby in a buggy was his mom was pushing him along, and he looked at me and smiled. I just waved to him, and he just smiled and cooed a little bit and waved back, and that small little thing just lifted my spirit. It got me through the rest of the day, through engage everything. And a small moment like that, like you're saying, like, is a small act of I just waved and smiled. But by doing that, then it left me feeling refreshed. And I think it could be the simplest little things like that, but it can help get us through our day. I could have easily just, like, well, kids, whatever, and walked away.
That's right.
But just by smiling, and I end up get some out as well and feeling refreshed as well. So,
yeah, I think we could say it like this, that purpose shows up in moments, not just milestones.
Right.
So that was one of those moments. I do it a lot. I talked about it Sunday, but yeah, it shows up in these moments. And Pastor Johnny is with us last week. He talks a lot about enjoy the moment, and so, but it does. I think purpose shows up in these moments. It's not just milestones where we've achieved this great thing. And I think we would be absolutely surprised to see when God shows up right in the middle of the moment as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we wrap up this entire series with one final challenge. And you quoted Pastor Chris Hodges. You mentioned at the top of the episode, the purpose of life is to discover your gift. The meaning of life is to give it away. So what's something we can pull from that and take into this week?
I think one of the things would be this. It's that, with maturity itself, it shifts our focus outward, okay? Mm-hmm. And so as we're looking at that, it's that whole thing of giving our life away. I would say don't overcomplicate this. This is not about changing the world this week. It's about changing someone's world, just like you did with the child. Mm-hmm. It's really about changing someone's world. And all of us have people that are around us all the time. I don't know very many people that aren't out and about, and there's, people around. And so I think some practical on-ramps to helping other people would be to look for one person, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe someone that is discouraged. And I found out the easiest way is, hey, how are you doing? And then if they'll open up to you one way or the other. And the other piece is once they have opened up, I just go ahead and ask if I can pray for them. Very few people will tell you no on that one. Oh, yeah. If you can pray, and then it usually leads into something else. But maybe look for one person that's discouraged. Look for one person that they're overlooked. You can just kind of tell you know that. Again, this is opening up your sphere as well, but that they're overlooked. Or maybe you sense that someone's carrying something heavy. In their spirit, or physically carrying something heavy, and you need to help them. It happens all the time around here. We see people, and so I think those would be the big things. Again, it's not about changing the world this week. It's about changing someone's world, because we're looking at these big steps. And I would say, like, step into the moment. We're talking about one step, a lot of one steps. We'll step into the moment. Remember, Jesus told us in Matthew 5:16, in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So there's Bible for this. It's not just that we're saying it or it's going to make us feel good. It's like, no, this is what Jesus said. And so I love that piece. When you show up in someone's life, you're really truthfully, you're putting God on display. And I think people are watching us as well. And so again, the meaning of life is not found in what you accumulate. It's found in what you give away.
I love that. It seems like the age-old question of what is the meaning of life has finally been answered. The meaning of life is to give it away. So make sure you tune in for the next series coming up. We're starting a Forge series this coming Sunday. And of course, we have the Overflow coming out of that on the Wednesdays afterwards. And we got a bunch of special guests coming out, special guest speakers on Sunday, special guests in the podcast episodes. I'm so excited about it. So Pastor Rodney, take us out.
Well, I would say pull up a chair. There's always room at the table. Sunday starts the conversation, but right here is where it continues, and we'll see you next time.